an actual live interview, which is really exciting to me. And we come strong with an incredible guest with a new book and someone that I don't think needs much of an introduction, but I'm going to allow him to say hello and who he is. And then we're going to get into the book, and then we're going to shoot the shit about a bunch of things, maybe a little football, wine, and definitely a lot of what the book is about and why. And so Matthew, it is a pleasure to introduce you to the show. Please tell everybody who you are and what the book is about.
There we go. Good to be here with you, GaryVee. Yeah, McConaughey here. Went away to the desert for 52 days of solitary confinement, walked out of there with a book. That's based on 36 years of diaries I've been keeping. It's called GreenLights. And it's stories, people, places, prescribes, poems, prayers, and a whole lot of bumper stickers. Sort of based on 50 years of chronological narrative of my life, and it's interspersed sort of with flashbacks and flash forwards of those prescribes, poems, and prayers that come in and either call back to the story you just got out of or propel you into the next story. It's ways of seeing is what it really is. That perspective very much, much more an approach book and a playbook than a memoir.
And the name, does it allude to, going forward, like culture, like, because when I heard the name, I was like, oh, I like that. I got a little bit pissed, when my Jets love affair, I always talk about green. I was like, shit, I could have definitely gone with that kind of route. Yeah. So don't even get me started. But he's a red light now, a chief. So is that a little bit of like where you went with it?
Well, so here we go. What I ended up with is believing that every red and yellow light turns green eventually in life. All right. So we love green lights. Yes, they affirm our way. Go. Yes. Proceed. Attaboy. We don't like yellows and reds. They slow us down or stop us. But I found out that a lot of the yellow and reds, when is it that we notice that there's a green light within the yellow and the red? Meaning right now, there's no green light with Le'Veon Bell leaving your jet. But what is something?
No, but I apologize because you get me fired up. My green light with the Jets is that professional mission, which is like, okay, well, this sucks, but good news. I'm going to buy them. And when I do, I'm going to win fucking Super Bowls. So that's my green light within the red.
Okay, there's your green light.
Now that one is a marathon versus a sprint. But to your point, I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down because sometimes I see the green I see the green in the fucking yellow every time.
Right.
The green in a red is a little bit more of thinking, sometimes a decade.
Sometimes on our deathbed, sometimes maybe our great-great-grandkids figure it out. I don't know. Some of them last a long time. But when is it that we notice? And I think the tool that I talk about in the book is when faced with the inevitable, get relative. So one thing is, when do you deem a situation inevitable?
Yep.
And then the other art is when and how do you get relative with that situation? You either persist through it because you want to get what you want, or you pivot, or you hold up the white flag and go, no, I'm fighting another day for something else.
How much is self-esteem a layer, a piece, a framework of even making any of this possible?
Well, I guess I never thought about it, but it has to be a large part of it.
Right? Because it's funny, right? Notice where I went, right? And I like that you paused and gave it some thought. Like, to me, I'm listening and I'm already hyped, and I knew this would have plenty of energy. I'm just obsessed with self-esteem because I just think that people fall in love with yellow and red because of insecurity.
Yeah.
And I think people front the green because they're putting up fake bravado and ego because of insecurity. Sure. And I think a lot about the foundation of self-esteem allowing to triple green light in this situation.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. How about self-esteem and the ego, if you don't mind me parlaying those two, which I'm a fan of both. How do you have judgment without that? How do you have any identity? Yeah, I mean, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-reliance, awareness of self. Then you got to have all those to handle the yellow and the reds, and not, again, lay down and wallow in them and say, oh, I love it over here.
Because what everything you just talked about, I was, giving you some room because I'm going to get bombarded for cutting you off because that's how I roll. So I'm trying to be better, evolve in my older age. All of that leads to accountability, right? When you talk about all that self-work, I'm like, right, And then that parlays into accountability, and accountability actually makes you really fucking happy instead of the reverse.
Hey, this I'm sitting down eating the same dinner with you here, man. I mean, it's this idea, part of this choice about how to find green lights and create green lights, which obviously we can create green lights tomorrow for us by our choices today. So this idea that sometimes we say it's a responsibility and freedom are a contradiction, which they're not. There's a responsibility to freedom, and there's a freedom in responsibility.
Yes.
I mean, delayed gratification is what I'm talking. I'm a big fan of. I love teeing myself up, being cool to my future self. Whether it's the simple thing of putting the coffee in the damn filter tonight or tomorrow morning when I'm groggy, all I got to do is push the button. And I go, nice play, McConaughey. Way to be cool. You know, or whether it is how I choose to be a husband to my wife or a father to my children, or
how they speak about you behind your back in 21 years.
Yeah, and right? You know, the end of let's dive into this delayed gratification, which I can tell you
I'm obsessed in.
Big,
because I'm obsessed with the journey. I like the game way more than the fucking trophy.
The trophy doesn't really exist, though.
No shit.
You know, we're just achieving on the way to unachievable the whole way is the way I see it. I mean,
one of the reasons I bring up the death of very iconic people, Prince, I use a lot, others, is I try to use that to paint a picture to people of like, you can have a trillion trophies and then it's just all over. Like you get 24 hours in social media, you get a little hashtag trend, people play their favorite clip, they quote a couple of your favorite things, and literally it's a week later and everyone's fucking on their life. So what the fuck are you chasing the trophy for?
The result, process. So I bring this up. I say I'm a fan of doing this a lot too. I like to, before doing a movie, sit down with the producers and directors. Hey, what's the poster look like?
Yeah, I love it. I love
right.
where you're going. Reverse engineering. That's right. Reverse engineering.
So still listen to this. Let's all ask ourselves, what's our eulogy, which is going to forever introduce us after we're gone? That's inevitable. The relative part is this resume of living we got going right now, which is going to write that story that's going to introduce us for fucking ever when we're gone. So
yep. Let me, since it's, I mean, this is talk about sharing the same meal. Take me to a couple different places, because we'll get back to this. You know, so much makes sense to me about my observations and interactions with you right now. Now that we've gone to this place, talk to me about the book from a different way, because we have a big audience on this, and there's a lot of different people. And now I'm going to focus on the people that are thinking about books.
Sure.
Did you always want to write one? Is it as simple as you went for this? Because I was aware of that little, adventure you took. Did it really hit there? What would you like to happen because of it? How much around legacy and like what's the poster? Like, what would you like to happen? Like, give me the selfless and selfish, altruistic and like personal makeup.
Absolutely.
Blend of this for you.
Absolutely. And we'll get into selfish and selfless later on. Those two are.
You like that one, right? Yeah, I'm about that too. Yeah, I get it.
Still redefining it to the world. I'm a big fan of it. So listen, I kept diaries for 36 years in my life.
Just because I'm going to double click because this is fun and we got a little time. Why did you start day one? What happened?
Well, 14 years old, probably started it because, Gretchen Donnelly broke up with me in my heart. I went to my diary like most people go to a diary. Or journal, whatever you want to call it. So I went to a diary for my first years of when I was lost, trying to figure shit out. Oh, heartbroken. Damn, figure this out. Why do I got pimples? What's going on? What's this pubic hair coming in? Why won't mine come in sooner? Blah, 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 stuff like that. So then it started off with going there to figure things out. And I get in my 20s, I got some great relationships going, school's cranking, I got a job, I'm rolling, catching green lights. I remember saying, hey, you better keep writing in your diary right now while you're succeeding, while you're rolling, while you're catching. And my hunch was you're gonna get in a rut again, and you're gonna need something to look back on to recalibrate. I mean, sure enough, I found a rut, as we all do. I was able to go back to those diaries and go, what were your habits when you were rolling, when you were catching green lights? Who were you hanging out with? What time were you going to bed? What were you eating? Where were you going? What were your morning rituals? Oh, you spent a little more time with yourself before you engage with the world. Oh, I got you. Oh, you took that little while. Okay. And it got me recalibrated, got me back on the rails, and it helped me get out of certain rut. and find green lights again, find my frequency again. So kept those diaries, looked at them all. 7 or 8 categories came out that I mentioned earlier, from the people, places, prescribes, poems, prayers, and a whole lot of bumper stickers. And then the theme of green light started to emerge out of those categories. I noticed how I'd engineered green lights in my life with certain choices I'd made. I'd teed myself up for more Saturdays in my future, giving myself no more reasons to look over my proverbial shoulder to see what I'd left behind, which gave me less stress moving forward and gave me more presence in green lights. So
dwelling,
the
elimination of dwelling.
Well,
I'm fascinated on people's inability to understand that there's no time machine. This notion of I wish, it's imperative to learn from pattern recognition, mistakes, strengths, imperative.
Yes.
Dwelling, looking back and dwelling and spending all of that prevent defense using football, because I love it. That's something I'm desperate to push on people. Like I know you made the wrong decision. Good news.
Right.
There's absolutely zero chance you're going to go into a time machine. So please take the learning and just go on fucking offense and eat shit for another 6 years to give yourself a chance to get to that same fucking road, and this time make the fucking right call.
I think it's all offense. I think every step is affirmative, even if it's considered going backwards. Look, going back and looking at 50 years of my diaries was an intimidating idea. I said, oh shit, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be shamed. I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to be, you arrogant prick, at this time in life. I felt all those things, but mostly I ended up laughing at some of these.
You just took the words. I was going to say, I'm curious the first time you just laughed your ass off.
Well, I mean, stuff I was like, oh my God, I ended up laughing at. I looked at stuff I was ashamed for. I was like, oh, well, you kind of already forgave yourself for that. You moved on, and so a lot of the book is about me going off into solitude at times, which I think is a good practice for everyone to do. And the reason I bring that up is because it's attached to the word dwell, but it's not. And it plays into that example you just said, 6 years, go to hell and get out of it. Every time I go away on my own with my backpack on my own, the first 12 days are hell. I do not like the company I'm keeping.
How many times have you done that?
6 to 8 to 10.
And are you saying that the prerequisite to you doing that is often the fact that you need it, and what you're doing is reconciling with yourself in that early part?
Well, I need memory to catch up. I'm in a world where I'm getting too much frequency. I've got no demarcation between events. I'm kind of playing on autopilot and I'm doing okay, but my head and my heart do not have an autobahn between them. There's a bit of a dirt road and I got to clean that up. I got to feel my feet on the ground. Spiritually, maybe I feel a little, and so I need to go off and I need to let memory catch up. I need to go listen to myself and find some discernment into my own judgment. What do I want from me? What's going on in the world? What's the reverb here? What am I giving to it? What's it giving back to me? Get some clarity there. Happens, especially when things are rolling. This is usually coming out of major green lights where I need to go away to go. Is that green light plugged into a battery? Or
have you learned that off those epic green lights, that if you don't go do that, you crash from the energy and it puts you into like, you were off of this high, it was rolling, this was so delicious. And then in that in between, which is completely always natural for all of us, that the drop off it doesn't feel great. So instead of doing that, you're going to go on this offense and go take that backpack trip, and it's going to make it productive time instead of kind of coming down from the project or thing. Yeah.
Well, the come down will be when you look up and you go, oh, all the affluence that you noticed, so half the green lights were plugged into 2-volt batteries, and they were never going to last very long. And it's going away to get rid of the ones that are plugged into the toy batteries and going to the ones that go, oh, that's solar powered. That's going to burn forever. That's burning after I'm gone, which takes you back to
shit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I hope comes of the book, man, I hope it can help people find their frequency. I think people are going to laugh their ass off. It's some killer stories. I did find that the stories.
Did you work with a ghostwriter? I work with a ghostwriter for my books because I'm very conscious stream and it needs to be structured for me. Or were you able to get there?
No, I went solo. I had a ghostwriter at the beginning, Stephen Kruitz. He was from the New York Times. He had written a cool article on me. I reached out to him. We got together one time. New York Times pulled him off the project, which then me and my wife, I looked in the mirror and I was like, that's fucking best gift I could have been given. And she goes, yeah, get your ass out of here. Take your journals. Don't go back to your So packed up steaks and bourbon and headed out. And so what I hope, man, people get out of it, I think people are going to see some killer stories. I am a pretty good storyteller. Now, the thing I did learn is that I performed a lot of these stories. And I thought if I just transcribed my best performance to the page, that'd be the best written word on the page. It was not. It needed to be about 30% shorter. You got to pick a word out. You don't get the lilt of my voice going up to tee you up. Here comes the punchline. You don't get any of that. So I think people are going to find some wisdom bombs in here. I picked up a lot along the way. I think I say there's a lot of bumper stickers in
What
here.
was that to make this fun? Because I know the process of book and it's really, really fun. Any story you can share with us that you haven't shared yet, or you have, of somebody reading it for the first time, your inner circles, the first 15, 20, 30 people, and anything that like either collectively they latched onto and or an interesting observation from someone that was fun for you. You were like happy, your cousin or your best friend or your wife.
Yeah.
Anything cool like that in the first kind of thing?
I mean, I got a call yesterday from Don Phillips, and he's a character in the story. He's the casting director. I introduced myself in Austin, Texas in the summer of 1992. Who later on at 3 a.m. after we got kicked out of a bar and we're smoking a joint on the way home in a cab, he says, "You ever done any acting? And come to this address tomorrow morning." And there's 3 lines in this character, which ended up being 3 weeks working a film called Days Confused. And I moved into it, slept on his couch when I moved out to LA. And he's the guy who, after about a month where I'm down to about $800 in my pocket, and I'm telling him, "Hey man, I need to get an agent." And he snapped at me, gave me one of the best lessons I've ever learned. He goes, "This town smells you needy. You're fucking done." He goes, "What you need to do is get the hell out of here and go off and get lost somewhere, motorcycle, something, but quit thinking about making it in Hollywood because this place smells you needy. You're done." Well, he was right. That was one of the guys who actually a rite of passage of a guy pushing me out of wanting something so bad, and he's right. How to come in needy. So I headed off.
The leverage. You come in needy, you give up the leverage.
I showed back in Hollywood a month later. I'm not even thinking about getting an agent. Well, now it's time to go get an agent because I'm like, I got stories. I just came from somewhere, man.